Hi, my name is Chris Barrera, and I collect comic books and action figures. That makes me sound very immature, doesn't it? I mean, you know it's bad when your niece comes over and she wants to play with them.
Uncle Chris, look.
You know what? That's what I grew up on. You know, Saturday morning cartoon, Fox Kids was all about Batman, X-Men, Spider-Man. They were dedicated to the superhero fans, and so that's ultimately what I just got into. And then of course when it came to the comics, my cousin used to actually collect them, and anytime he would purchase a new comic, he would just kind of pass it down to me and say, here, read this. I would never forget my very first comic he gave me, and I still have it to this day. It was the Uncanny X-Men issue 349, and on the cover they had Psylocke. And ultimately, she just became my favorite superhero. Everything about her was just so amazing. The way she kicked ass, the way she looked. I mean, she was very curvy, let's just say it that way. But they all were, but I don't know. I think just because she was like the first one I saw, ultimately she just became my favorite. Okay, so in this binder, these are all the comics that I collected from my cousin. I mean, I have everything from Catwoman, Weapon X, Wolverine, you know, all these comics that I kept cherished, you know, these meant something to me. Fortunately, when my cousin wanted to move to California, it was really sad because one, at this point, he became like my favorite cousin because we had such interest in comics, and now, too, well, if he's gone, who's going to give me comics now, you know? I mean, when you're a kid, you're kind of limited to what you can and cannot get, and so after that, it was just the end of my comic book days. I am just kidding. I think it was in 2009. I just randomly decided to just walk into a comic book store one day, and when I did, that was the start of fanatic, crazy, like obsessed with wanting to get every single thing that they had there. It was like a kid in a candy store. I was literally in awe of everything. I came across comics that I had missed out on when I started to read that current storyline at the time, and I didn't get to continue because, like I said, my cousin had just moved. Or I started to see these action figures that I had when I was younger that I no longer had, and now I'm like, I'm gonna get them again. So before I started recollecting comics again, I found this one. This was one of the very few that I ended up saving, only because it was left at my grandma's house, and when we were cleaning, I had found it, and I was like, oh! So this was my I guess you can say this was my very first action figure that I had left from all the other ones that I had. Let's be real, everybody has that one thing that they just love to spend their money on, where others are just like, what is wrong with you? You know, mine is comics and toys. At least it's not like porn. I think I would say that I'm more in love with comics now than when I was a kid, clearly. So this is basically the main wall of my room, as you can see. And this just came from like when I used to go to comic book stores back in the day. I just remember it being a small building, you know, you had a brick wall, and then of course you had stuff displayed everywhere, and so that's pretty much what I started doing. Choosing to have a comic room versus a walk-in closet was something that I would never regret, because who needs to store clothes when you can store comics? That's why I would never show anybody my room. I think I find myself always redesigning this room just because I never want to stop, because once I'm done designing, what then, you know? So it's just one of those things where I'm always rearranging. The idea of wanting to do a web series is just one of those check-off things in my list. You know, I'm someone that likes to tap into a lot of things because I always like to view life as an opportunity just to have fun. I mean, you're only going to live once, so why not make the best of it, you know? So if I want to become a photographer one day, if I want to become a filmmaker or an actor or singer, just kidding, I can't sing. Then that's what I'm going to do. All these things that I do in life, I want to be able to look back one day and say, I'm glad I did that. You know, I never want to be old and say, I wish I could have done this, because that just kind of sucks. You know, I mean, really. So the whole point of me doing this web series is to share my passion with you guys on comics, and also to kind of give you guys more of an insight on why I decided to pick up the hobby of creating dioramas. I think they're so cool. I mean, seriously, like a lot of times, you know, people who collect action figures tend to keep them in the box. And there are certain figures that you should keep in the box because it's a collector's edition, but for the most part, I think that it's pointless to kind of just keep it in a box, because a lot of times you're either going to just store it away, you're going to put it in a corner where it's not seen, or they're just going to kind of take up so much room because the box itself is a lot more bigger than the figure. So for me, I'm all about taking it out of the box, displaying it, and seeing if I can create something cool out of it. And when I started doing that, I just became hooked. I was just, you know, from one design to the next, and I'm excited to share that with you guys and hope that you guys take interest in, and you never know, maybe this might be a little small business. Who knows? No expectations, like I said. It's a check off my list, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little mini series.